Hello, welcome back to another day of Axie Origins Season 1 Meta-Analysis and Team Highlight. So today is day 9, I believe, and so that just means the marketplace is open and there are actually a lot more epics, runes and charms being available, and that just means the top player can get to the, well, I was going to say perfect, but like almost perfect build that they have, of course barring any mystics, because I don't think at this point people get to the mystics yet, at least not at the point where they can sell them. But we're interested to see when will people actually start using the mystics. But okay, for now, let's just see what's happening in the meta, and you can see there is a bit of a shift, right? Where, well, you do see that the king of last season, season 0, is coming back, and that is the Rage Fury Beast. Yeah, so you can see now actually a lot of beast stuff going on at the very top. You do get the sustain, the Dawn sustain at the top as well. And interesting to get a bird here, so actually interesting to see what this build will be. And let me just scroll further down and see what we get. Yeah, so you can see a lot of people getting into Challenger already as well. Of course, with every day there'll definitely be more and more people going into Challenger. Yeah, so okay, so I would say it's nothing too exciting other than really getting more Fury Beasts, and that's why I do want to highlight the very top team, which managed to overtake Hiki, which Hiki was really on top and way ahead of everyone else, and I think now everyone getting the runes and charms that they want do manage to get better builds to climb up on top. And with the rest, even with not the best runes and charms, you do, like Molecular SK, which I featured before, yeah, still being up there. Yeah, so I would say you don't really have to have the best runes and charms to get up there. But yeah, you see, right, a lot more Fury Beast stuff coming up, and this is where, yeah, Fury Beast stuff, yep. You see, I would say a lot more common than usual, but that is probably the main thing that I would note. And okay, I will before I get into the looking at the top team for today, let me just look at the marketplace for runes and charms. Let me just see what's available for rare. You can see is yeah, I would say the price is kind of stabilized, right? So meaning people do think that Pendulum Scale worth 16, and that's, well, basically the price that was yesterday, and people are buying it at this price. And for the rest of the runes for rare, yeah, I mean Energy Guru is still worth quite a bit. Actually, let me refresh this. Not sure why Hardy Warrior is not showing up. Yeah, okay, not really worthing too much as well. So unless, oh wow, okay, I forgot to refresh, that's why. Okay, so now Pendulum Scale is actually at 9. Yeah, so unless you have probably Pendulum Scale or maybe Energy Guru or maybe Hardy Warrior, otherwise definitely not worth minting, or maybe Reckless Hunter. Yeah, so the rest probably not worth it. Let me just see the epic ones. Okay, epic ones that as you would expect. Bloodlust is very, very high, so over $100. And then you have the Poison Touch, but and the Raven's Tactic. I think these are the 3 that people want the most. And then oh, and of course, yes, this Rise and Rune for the sustain build. Yeah, actually Malediction surprisingly still quite good as well. It is mostly for the poison build, but the rest, I think you should still, well, actually, depending if your team doesn't need those, you might still want to craft and sell them off for a small profit, but obviously not financial advice. Yeah, so okay, so this is for the runes. So let's see the charms, and let me just go and see the rare charms first, and I should refresh it so that I get the latest information. And let's go through these, and really, if you have any rare charms, just don't really bother, because it's really all at 3 except for this at 4, but otherwise, I mean, doesn't make too much of a difference, and some are even selling for a loss. Reason being, you do need $3 worth of AXS to mint one of the runes and charms. Okay, epic is of course the ones that's more interesting. Wow, actually surprisingly the leafy pot getting a bit of love. Yeah, sun, and I assume actually sun worth a lot more than moon. Not too sure why. Functionally very similar. Yeah, so really not sure why, but of course, like for a lot of teams, the back Axie of the opponent, let's say for those Rage Fury Beast team, right? Usually it's the back that does the most damage, and you do want to target the back more, but still, actually for me, functionally they are pretty similar. So I'm not sure why there's such a big difference. Yep, so Gecko Mask very important for sustain or even poison build, mostly sustain, and I'm actually surprised that Mask of Frenzy is not that doesn't cost that much, just because this is a very strong one for those Fury build, and I assume it's just because maybe people are not well, not everyone has those Axie, and for those, I would say including myself, like I do have those these kind of charms. I just have to sell those off, and I just want to refresh because Bubble Paste not showing up. Yeah, Bubble Paste is another one that I would expect to make quite a bit. So these three for sure, Sun and Moon stems as well, and the rest is alright. Yeah. Aqua, Vitality, always good as well. Actually, I must say for some reason the Aqua one really gets a bit more love. I would assume that the Beast actually worth a bit more, just because you do see a lot of Pendulum Scale Beasts, but yeah, somehow Aqua ones cost a bit more. So that's something interesting to note, and maybe it is something that is reflected in the meta. Okay, so that is for the runes and charms for today, and of course these few days things will change a lot, but let's just dive into MKxFRIENDS at Stars Dingo's team. Okay. Alright, taking a bit of time to load. Let me just refresh this. Yeah, you can see, right, so they have been on top for quite a bit, and it is quite a big margin, meaning they must be doing something pretty strong. And let's just see, a very steady climb. And yeah, actually, if I remember correctly, they have been using a different team before as well, and they switched to this team quite recently, but maybe I'm wrong, I just don't quite remember. But okay, let's just look at the runes and charms while these loads. Yep, so both using the Dominant Predator, very strong. So I'll get into what they do later when I actually analyze them. And then Pendulum Scale at the front. Okay, so I believe what this does is actually to deal more damage to bleeding opponent. But let's just see what the Axie does. And actually I should start at the front. So this is actually the front, if I remember correctly, and let me just double check. Yeah, it looks like the front. No, this one looks like the front. And you see Innocent Lamb usually is used to get a Cotton Tail, but in this case no, it's to get another extra copy of Confidence, so you do get some redundancy. Little Piece very strong, I believe it's Little Piece all across the board, right? Just to get vulnerable for 4 turns is very strong, especially with this kind of build where you just deal massive damage to the opponent, especially when they're vulnerable with the Fury mode. So I assume you all know what the Fury mode does, but for those who don't, I'll just show you a bit. So basically, Rage is the mechanic that we are dealing with, and each stack of Rage, right, allows you to deal a bit more damage. Okay, but the important part is that once you get to 10 stacks of Rage, then the Axie get into something called Fury mode, and in Fury, what happens is that you immediately gain 1 energy. So as soon as you get into Fury mode, meaning once you get a Confident, use the Confident and get into 10 stacks, you get into Fury, you gain 1 energy, and that Axie that gets to Fury deals 75% more damage. So it's close to doubling the damage that you do. But of course with Little Piece, it's just doing massive amount of damage. And the question is, how do you get to 10 stacks, right? So that's where confident comes in, right? So you get a confident, and Shiba also, right? Shiba is actually a very, very important one, because this is the front, right? Opponent will hit into the front, and then what happens is that then you get below 75%. So this actually only applies when this Axie health is below 75%, but once this Axie's health is below 75%, then if you use Shiba, your whole team gains 4 rage, right? So it's effectively 12 rage stacks across your 3 Axies, so 4 rage stack each. So that's pretty strong. Removing secrets can be quite important against very annoying secrets like fear. So that's pretty good. And bleed, very, very strong because couples with the runes for the other 2 Axies, right? So dominant predator. Okay, so let's see the second one. Okay, I have the Shiba as well with the eggshell. So this is kind of perfect combination, because with the eggshell you draw. Okay, not draw. You draw the opponent's attack to it, right? So it applies taunt, and what it means is that taunt means this applied taunt is on itself, so that next turn the opponent will have to target this Axie. So once this Axie takes a bit of damage, gets below 75%, do the Shiba, gains more rage. Okay, again, having confident, get more rage. This is very interesting as well. This card does randomly deals 3 hits and gain rage depending on how many enemy it hits. So especially good against summon builds like Mavis, right? This literally just kills a Mavis and then still deals another 2 hits to somewhere else. So very efficiently deal with summons. Of course, it's random, so you might not get to deal with them, but still, you do get a few stacks as well, ideally 3 stacks, and then little piece. And actually, one of the more, I won't say most important, but another important card is Ronin. That's because you do get extra energy once you get a Fury mode, and once you end your turn with Ronin can deal 200 damage, right? With all the buffs and the debuffs of the opponent. So it's pretty crazy. If you get a Ronin off, basically it can 1-hit KO some Axie. So pretty strong, but of course it requires a bit of setup, so that's why it's not the easiest to play. And this one is very similar, pretty much identical, so I won't go into it too much, except these I think the last 2 cards, right? So this one allows you to get a bit more rage as well. So sometimes of course you might not get the perfect draw, but drawing this at least allows you to get maybe 2 or 3 rage, which is still not bad. And usually you use this as like a finisher kind of thing. You hit the opponent but very hard, gain and maybe this allows you to get into Fury mode, and then you do the rest of the stuff. So this is another way to get rage, especially when you're the last one and you don't have like other cards that gain rage, but of course you do have the rest of the cards that gain rage. And then finally here, okay, this is also another very important one, is that once you get into Fury mode, you do gain 1 energy, but you don't draw that many cards per turn, right? And so sometimes then you get in a situation where, okay, you use all your confidence, get a lot of get to the stacks that you want, but then you might not have enough cards. And this is where playing every card, playing this last to draw another card that you can make use of your Fury mode. So yeah, very excited to see actually how this team functions. So let's just jump right into it. Okay, so let's just look at the most recent game. Okay, right, let me pause the video here and see actually how it goes. Alright, so this time around, MKxFRIENDS going first, and alright, this is where I'll show you what Dominant Predator actually does. So single attacks apply bleed, right? So apply bleed to the target for 2 turns. And if the opponent has bleed, this actually is above 75%, which quite normally you will at the beginning turns, alright, and deal 20% more damage and take 10% less damage from bleeding enemies. But of course, I think taking the damage, this part is less relevant, but the more relevant one is this one, right? Where if this Axie is pretty much full health, alright, then it will apply bleed to the opponent, and once you apply bleed to the opponent, you deal 20% more damage to bleeding opponent. So very strong, I must say. And then okay, you can see the Mask of Fury. So this is the charms that actually gain you rage as well. That's actually another way in which you can gain rage, because once you use this attack, I think the whole team gain 1 stack of rage as well. So yeah, that's very, very efficient in terms of just getting into the rage mode. So here I think it's actually more typical. I think you can see the HP. Alright, so there are quite a number of HP stuff, and I assume, no, interestingly, they don't actually stack up the Ronin here. I was assuming that they will want to put more attack into Ronin, but okay. So and then let's see, so this one pretty much full stack of health, because you do want to get the pendulum scale value. And yeah, just try to survive as long as possible so that you set up for the rage, and then you just kill the opponent. So let's just quickly look at the opponent as well. Typical poison team. Tiny Turtle very strong. Have some reflect as well. Let's just see what else. Yep, Tiny Turtle all across the board, it looks like. And then interesting, I have a Mavis. So this actually, not too sure why this fits into a sustain build, but maybe it is to not sustain, poison build, but maybe it's to go against sustain, where you, once you have the Mavis and the opponent can't deal with it, actually you can do a bit more, put more poisons and do a bit more stuff. And then let's just see, yeah, so another Tiny Turtle, Gila as well, just to finish off the very poisoned opponents. Yeah, I would say opponent's team very strong as well, especially getting 3 Tiny Turtles is with this Moon stamp as well, which allows you to hit the second opponent. Okay, so let's just see how it plays out. Okay, so already getting the confident. I assume it's, yeah, they're gonna play all the confident, and yeah, so oh, actually interesting to keep 1. Not too sure why, and very interesting. I personally don't play, haven't played this kind of build, but you can see that they actually put it across as opposed to stacking on 1, and probably the reason being they're planning to get both of these into Fury mode. Okay, and then another 2 stacks because hits 2 different opponent. Okay, hit. This doesn't do too much, but then yes. Okay, so maybe just trying to get the mid into Fury mode first, and then yeah, get the back. So yeah, I'm not too sure what the strategy is, because I definitely haven't played this too much, and I'm definitely learning from this as well. Of course, watching the expert play is the ideal case. So you can see the rune, right, dealing the bleed, and then you can see all the debuff, and this one is just overkill in this case. But yeah, because with the vulnerable, with the bleed, it's just doing too much. Okay, at least opponent does get the stun, so might deny them this value. But you can see, right, the opponents are already quite behind just because the front is going down, and there's not that much poison stack at this point. Okay, unfortunately, actually only hitting the back, which is probably the ideal case for the opponent, and needing to use a hit to get through the Mavis, and you can see where the charm comes in to gain extra rage as well over the team. Yeah, but the opponent's still trying the best to put more poison stack and heal up, shield up, so that maybe they can survive this turn. But let's just see. Okay, get the bleed on. Yep, try. Okay, interestingly, they don't actually try again the Fury mode at this point, right? So that's why they stack it up, because they don't have that much card. But still, Ronin still do so much with this rune because they are bleeding. And next turn is going to be the fireworks, it feels, if they have the right draw, because then goes to Fury mode, then just hit all the attacks. But you do need to pay attention to what kind of cards you get, which Axie's card you get, in order to decide which Axie you get into Fury mode. Okay, so get into 9 stacks, saving this. I think they're just really, okay, getting into the Fury mode. Get the Ronin off. I'm not too sure why they don't play this. Probably because they don't want to get into Fury mode at this point, and saving to get to the next turn. But actually, you can see, right, opponent actually getting quite close. It's just couldn't quite get enough stacks, right, to get to the back Axie. And now, of course, the back can just get into Fury mode and finish the job off, right, with this. Oh no, actually couldn't. Yeah, so interestingly, the opponent really couldn't get it. Sorry, I mean, yeah, MKxFRIENDS couldn't get it, but it's just at this point very unfortunate that none of the poison stacks gets to the back. So, yeah, I mean, these two are going down, but it's just, yeah, this back actually has been dodging all the poison stacks. I think if not for that, yeah, it actually could have been pretty close. So yeah, actually a lot closer than I thought, and you can see actually in this game things don't quite line up, and it's actually not that easy to play with this team. So I think this team, when I say this team, I mean the Rage Fury team, does have quite a high skill cap, I would say, because you do need to manage when and to get into Fury mode and so on, and keep your resources. So yeah, pretty interesting game. Okay, so unfortunately not too much fireworks, but you do see a lot of huge attacks. And let's just see a game that actually might go in the other way, and interestingly it is against some sort of sustained build, so I do want to see how this one goes. Okay, let's see what this one is about. Okay, I assume the runes and charms are pretty similar, so yeah, very strong. Two of those charms that gains the whole team rage, and then yep, these are pretty much the same. Let's just look at actually the opponent. I would say typical sustain, but interestingly with a bamboo shoot, which wow, I don't know how that fits in, but yeah, very high health. All the charms definitely just increase HP. Innocent Lamb to get to probably, like, depending on the matchup, you might want to get Fear, or maybe a cleanse, that kind of thing. AoE cleanse can be very important against some of the teams. Maybe not against this one though. Very interesting, this one, looking at your opponent's card, might be interesting just to then think about how to, you know, position your play depending on what your opponent's cards are. But War Gecko, and then of course Arcane Protection is very strong, I would say. Kotaro as well, and this is actually a very strong heal because it's basically a one cost heal 80 with a bit of damage boost, which synergize of course with the Arcane Protection as well. So yeah, so I'm actually surprised that actually let's just watch first, because I would assume that the Beast, Rage Beast, will have a better matchup, have a pretty good matchup, because you do get a lot of burst damage, and sustained build, right, usually can't really deal too much of burst damage, because they do have limited shields and heals. But maybe the Fear, oh wow, definitely cleanse, right? So you can see that getting the Fear is still fine because you can cleanse it off. So that's why I feel like it is quite a tough job for the sustained build to stay alive. But let's just see. But maybe you know, some cleanse could help with the bleeding. Right, so you see every turn get the bleed, but okay, MKxFRIENDS do get a lot of Fear, but we can see so much damage. 266, getting the Fear mode in turn 5. I mean, I don't know what to say, right? Getting the Fear mode turn 5, just Ronan do 266 and kill the front. So yeah, at this point I'm like, wow, how? But okay, of course both of these players are in Challenger, so they definitely know what they're doing. But wow, that's why I thought, right, should be quite a good matchup for the Beast team. Yeah, so let's just continue watching, and now the back only has 2 buffs as well, so it's not like it has fully buffed. Okay, getting some rage stack. Okay, staying alive quite a bit, so actually not too bad of a result for the opponent. Okay, this is where it comes, the War Gecko getting more buffs, getting the attack buff as well. So this is where it's basically the full kind of style. You do have the leaf, you have the Sakura, obviously you have the attack buff, and you do have the skill skin as well, so it's really not dealing too much damage. Yeah, so okay, so I would say tanking pretty well for the sustain build, and now getting some reflex on, also very strong. Oh, okay, the leaf is good as well, so you can see that using the charm to get the leaf on as a extra buff. Okay, let's see. Okay, so actually dealing like quite decent damage, just because you can see, right, the opponent does have the debuff of the bleed and the vulnerable, and the Ronin, yeah, dealing 99. Okay, of course not the bestest because it's not in free mode. Maybe just the free mode doesn't quite line up. So now healing the front, shielding the front. Not even trying to get Kotaro values, it's not worth it. Just trying to heal, trying to shield. Do save these for later. Okay, so saving all those cards for now, right? So because there's, you can see there's no point hitting into the shield. You just get fear and you're just wasting your attack. You might as well just save up the best card so you can actually, yeah, do some burst damage. And I feel like this is the turn where the fireworks comes. Opponent is at like 400 something though, so let's just see. Okay, little branch. Oh, the fear though, you can see, right? But getting the fear mode has to deal every single attack because otherwise you're just wasting. But both getting the fury mode, and you do get to finish off the opponent. But you can see the amount of the fear is really the key, I can tell you, because you can see here, right? A dropout is just crazy. So they're basically the MKxFRIENDS is going to basically skip 2 turns, and that is probably what allows the opponent Kaosai to just win the game. I think it's literally just that, the fear. I think without the fear, right, I mean, you can see, right, just drawing 1 possible card and not even trying to keep the Shiba, buying a lot of turns. Now, and then the Walk Echo, I mean, they already have the buff, but yeah, just shielding, healing. Okay, now used up all the resources, so I would say it's still pretty close, but having all the buffs and everything makes it so hard to get through. And they still have yeah, the confused card, and they know that they probably can't get through and just conceded. I'm not too sure why. I could still continue play it out just because when I say a reason, is just because it's because the Blood Moon might be able to, take them down. But okay, decided to just concede here. Probably don't want to waste the time. Just because it is quite difficult to get through, and then just want to move on to the next game. Okay, so this is how you see this sustain build can outlast the beast, and in this case it's really, I think, the fear that did the job. It really bought opponent 2 extra turns, and of course 2 extra turns is very significant in terms of the Blood Moon damage. Okay, so this is it for today. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed my video, do consider giving me a like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitch, and use my Lenosian code Morris. Thanks again, and have a good one.